Oh my God. That's insane. King Law's good friend and attorney, Nick Wiltsie, is here with us, and he's going to introduce himself real quick.
Hi, everyone. My name's Nick. I am a public defender at the Legal Aid Society in Brooklyn, New York, in the criminal defense practice. I also am an adjunct instructor at Columbia Law School, where I teach a 1L course on legal practice. And I'm also a big fan of the King Law podcast, and I'm excited to be here.
Today, we're going to react to a police interaction in Oklahoma City, and we're going to get your take on it.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right.
The way that your vehicle was located, I'll have to write you a ticket for improper U-turn. Whenever you complete a U-turn...
I didn't U-turn.
Hold on. Whenever you complete a U-turn, you're supposed to be as far to that corner as possible, okay?
They have another car in front of her.
Why is the door open? Like, should the door be shut? Is that more of like a safety practice to keeping the door shut, or do you think it's safer to have it open? Or is that
I don't know if it matters. It's unclear who opened it here. Ordinarily, it would be crossing a sort of constitutional line for an officer to just come up and open your door during a run-of-the-mill traffic stop. It's possible that it's Mr. Vu is his name that was pulled over here. It's possible he opened the door himself. Unsure. Most traffic stops I see involve just the window rolled down, so that is unusual to me. The other thing I want to flag here and just have everyone notice as we watch this first minute or so, it's very obvious to me here that there's a language barrier. Mr. Vu appears to speak some English, and he can at least try to have a conversation, but it appears at least that he's not fluent. My first question is there more the officer could have done to bridge that language barrier via calling a language line, trying to figure out his native language and calling an officer that speaks that language, or just something else? Because I think this is a situation we'll see that maybe gets out of hand quicker than it needs to, in large part because they just weren't communicating.
Right. Well, let's see what happens.
I need you to sign with your finger. It's not an admission of guilt. You're just signing saying you'll take care of the citation for a ticket. You're promising saying that you'll take care of it at a later date, whether that be in court or if you take care of it outside of court.
I don't know what you're talking about.
So I'm writing and issue.
Okay, this is not New York, but if this was New York, in what world do they have you sign something at a traffic stop?
I only practice in New York. My best guess is in a lot of states what they do is if you get a traffic ticket and you fail to respond to it, either by paying the ticket, showing up in court, etc., they're going to suspend your license. That's usually the mechanism to force people to come to court and deal with these tickets. By having someone sign it, it's creating evidence that they were actually properly served with the ticket to close off any sort of defense, like, oh, he didn't actually give me the ticket, oh, maybe it was generated by a camera, so I never saw it, things like that. I don't know in this jurisdiction if it's true that he needs to get him to sign it. At some point, there's a question of, is it worth the hassle? Is it worth the conflict that's going to arise for the officer to keep pushing to make him sign it? You know, he has body cam. It's very clear that this ticket is being served on him. Did the officer need to go this far and keep pushing just to get a little signature proving that he handed him the ticket?
Yes.
I don't know.
And the fact that he just said, I don't understand. That's a very clear indication that maybe you need to get someone who does understand.
And issuing you a citation for improper U-turn. Yes, sir.
She's hitting me and I got a citation.
I'm not writing a ticket for her hitting you. Okay?
No, she hit me. You see the...
I'm not writing a ticket.
You see the evidence? No.
Okay. I don't think that you're understanding what I'm saying here, okay?
I understanding. I told you.
I feel like it's probably not great practice to get out of the car.
Okay. Whenever you make a U-turn,
I didn't make a U-turn.
sorry.
So something I want to flag here that I think is sort of a common point of friction I see between people interacting with the police and the police themselves. In his mind, he is the victim of a traffic accident, and there's no one making allegations that like he was driving recklessly, that he caused the accident. It sounds like he made an improper U-turn, or at least the cop is alleging he did. But it's very difficult for someone, especially someone that's struggling to understand English, that doesn't know exactly what's going on, to comprehend that, like, yes, you were a victim of this car accident. That happened. But also you may have broken some sort of traffic infraction that now I'm going to write a ticket for. And that's something that I see a lot in practice where, like, someone may have been the victim of an assault or something else. They call the police, then the police come and they're like, well, maybe this happened to you, but you've also, committed assault back. Or you also, you were stealing from the store when you were assaulted, so we're going to arrest you as well.
Right.
And a lot of people, I think, don't realize, like, how complex things can be. That, like, yes, something bad happened to you, but just because that happened, the police aren't going to turn a blind eye.
Right.
If you did something that they can arrest you for, can cite you for, can give you a ticket for, a lot of times they're still going to do that, as Mr. Vu is unfortunately learning here.
And two wrongs don't make it right.
Sorry, let me clarify, okay? Whenever you enter a little intersection thing like that, you are not allowed to go side by side next to a car, okay? You have to go behind vehicles.
Hey, you are the police.
Yes.
So you know
Okay.
how many times?
We are done, sir? No, we're done arguing about this, okay? We are not arguing about this,
I
okay?
want to show you.
We argue in court. We argue in court.
You take the phone and
What I want to point out here that I think the officer is doing wrong is, there's some case law. Different states have different cases, and, there's also federal case law. But there's the general idea that when you're effectuating a traffic stop, officers should do no more than is necessary to effectuate the traffic stop. You can't be searching the car during a regular traffic stop just because you've already stopped the person. And, an officer can be totally justified in stopping someone for committing a traffic infraction. But at the point where they're prolonging the interaction longer than is necessary, they're actually crossing a constitutional line. And did that technically happen here? At this point, I'm not sure yet. But it's becoming more and more clear that this is going a lot further than is really necessary. He wrote the ticket. He's given it to the individual, or he can print it out and give it to him. Yes, he's all up in arms about he didn't sign the thing. But at some point, it's just a matter of, you've written the ticket, get in, get out, and, worry about the fact that he didn't sign it another day. And this officer's not doing that.
We argue in court.
no,
We don't
And
argue
he's
on
a
the side of
sweet,
the road. We argue in court.
older man.
Yes,
Does he
that's how
look
it
like
works,
a threat?
because
I
if
would say no.
If you don't sign this, you go to jail. Okay?
Yeah,
I don't want to
go
take you to jail.
I'm ready to go to
You ready to go to jail?
Yeah.
Ridiculous. Okay, that involves impounding your car too. Okay. You got a ticket also?
Yes.
Your tag's expired?
She's like, okay.
So you're good to get out of here.
Okay.
There's a report. I'll get to you guys in a second. Wait there. So, this is the ticket.
Right.
There's a date at the bottom that you have to take care of it by. And then below that, there's a phone number, website, address. One of the three will tell you how and where to take care of it.
Okay.
And then there is a case number right there. It has everyone's person, vehicle, and insurance information on it, okay?
Okay. So now I guess I'll just get my insurance to go after, take care of it.
Yeah, just call the insurance, give them the case
Okay.
number.
Thank you, sir. I'm so sorry.
Wonderful thing.
He handled that perfectly with that other woman. I don't know her name.
Yeah.
But language isn't a barrier. Presumably it looks like maybe they're the same race. Maybe some of his implicit biases aren't coming into play. But the big picture is this is someone that is capable of being a cop doing his job, handling an interaction quickly, get in and out,
interesting
not
point.
prolonging the situation. And that's something I think is sometimes hard for people that don't interact with police on a day-to-day basis, don't see these cases a lot, to realize that, like, someone that has a perfectly fine interaction that's respectful, quick, and efficient with me, with you, like someone might say, well, my neighbor's a cop and he's always nice to me. Yeah, that can happen. The problem is that in this case, the officer is perfectly capable of handling this interaction with this other woman, but at the same time, he's getting frustrated. He doesn't know how to deal with this language barrier, and that's causing this other situation that's the same case, the same incident, to escalate, to grow, to let him get frustrated to a point where eventually he's going to cross a line in an unfortunate way because for whatever reason he's not capable of with dealing with this older couple the same way that he does with that woman.
What do you think about the fact that he kind of stopped his interaction with Mr. Vu here to deal with this other situation before he finished dealing with this one? Do you think that getting them out of the way there was the most appropriate?
I think that's fine, and I think maybe it's actually a good move for if he's realizing I'm frustrated. Let me take a beat here with these two and go deal with this other person, get her out of here. I think very likely he's realizing, oh, Mr. Vu just said he wants to go to jail. This short traffic stop is now going to be a prolonged incident that I'm going to have to, be working on for minutes, if not hours. Let me get this other woman on the road. I think that's fine. I think the problem is, as we'll see here in just a second, the cooling off period, the taking a step back, doesn't do anything to cause Officer Gibson to take a breath, settle down, and not continue to escalate the situation.
Go ahead.
Can you roll me another unit? I got this guy up here and a supervisor. He's refusing to sign a ticket, and he's wanting to go to jail.
My husband, we stay here waiting for those two here. We're not U-turn.
Okay,
We're waiting to
it doesn't
go
matter
here.
about a U-turn or whatever. That lane,
And I
you
heard
can't.
she hit us.
I understand that, but you're not. You see where that car's at? Whenever you enter that area, that's what you're supposed to do. You're not supposed to leave any space at all.
But
You're not supposed to leave any space at all.
Straight.
You see that two car?
Yeah, that's what you're supposed to do.
I am the
The
top
way
car.
where
I'm the
your
top
vehicle
car.
was located, your
Top
vehicle
car.
was not like that.
Sit up.
No.
You sit up.
Oh my gosh.
No. See, sir. No.
I think he's knocked out.
I got it.
That's excessive force to me.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts?
It certainly strikes me as excessive force. I imagine the officer would say, well, he's putting his hand in my face, so I reacted. But
all he said was shut up. He didn't
Right.
say, like, I'm going to hit you or something,
Yeah, and the real question is one of reasonableness. Is the force that the officer is using here reasonable? I would say no. It's very hard to believe that this Mr. Vu, who I believe the article says is something like 7 years old, he certainly has the appearance of someone that's a little frail, that's not going to be a genuine physical threat or danger to the officer. And it's the officer that grabs him, throws him to the ground, and like you said, I think he actually renders him unconscious. This, to me, is an extreme escalation. And again, what going all the way back should have been a very minor traffic infraction. People put in these positions of power, we call on them to have a heightened level of restraint, a heightened level of being able to take a deep breath and not escalate situations themselves. Basically, he should have been de-escalating while he was escalating.
Do you think calling in a second officer earlier on would have helped de-escalate?
I think it could have. It's unusual to me, the way he's sort of by himself. I think that can create in officers a sense of, I'm in more danger than I am. He can look at this as, I'm in a 2-on-1 situation. Granted, these two are like an older couple that doesn't seem like an actual threat, but who knows what's going through his mind. And certainly, once it gets to the point where he's like, well, I'm going to arrest these two, the move may have been, okay, sit in your car till the other two, my backup can get here so I can handle this situation more calmly, more collected, and again, give himself a chance to take a breath.
Yeah.
Call an ambulance.
Look at his feet.
112 Hefner, roll me fire and incident supervisor out here.
Does this part have audio by chance?
No, this doesn't have audio, and we can just watch real quick because I think it does show how little of a threat there actually was to the officer. Sometimes the body cam can be a little misleading because it's so zoomed in.
Yeah.
When we watch here, you'll see...
This is the conversation that was just occurring that we're watching from
So
a
we're
different
about to
angle.
see Mr. Vu get slammed to the ground, and you'll see he does a little more... Yeah.
So he does touch him, I think, or like attempt to. But there he says, "Shut up." There, yeah, that's excessive force. Oh my god, that's insane. That was unnecessary. The guy is a frail, old, elderly man who is upset, but I don't know.
Yeah, again, the big test here, the big question is reasonableness. Is it
Yeah.
reasonable? That strikes me as objectively not reasonable. Escalating the situation when he didn't need to and putting, this person who he has a duty of care to into harm's way.
Overall, what do you think this case is going to, how this would end up, in your opinion? I feel like there's probably a civil suit.
Yeah, so
at play?
I don't practice civil law, these sort of, I don't know if this would be a state lawsuit, a federal lawsuit, or what the damages are. When you get to damages, you're thinking about like, well, what were his medical expenses, how much damage was done. But it certainly, to me, rises to the level of the officer exceeding his authority, going too far, acting in an unreasonable way, such that if he was my client, if I was representing him on his criminal matter, I would say, yeah, you got to talk to a civil lawyer about this and see what's available to you, because it appears to me as though the officer violated your civil rights.
Right. And what is the update? You have the update.
Yeah, so currently the officer is, he's under investigation, he's on paid leave. The investigating source is an outside source that the police department is paying for. The injuries that Mr. Vu sustained were, his neck was broken, he has a brain bleed. He's suffering from memory loss due to that, and because of his broken neck, he's unable to swallow, so he's currently on a feeding tube.
Which is incredibly sad, because this interaction, I don't think ever had to come to this.
He's also dealing, like prior to the interaction, he's been dealing with bone cancer as well, so that's probably another reason it was so easily broken as well.
Yeah, and that gets into something that I'm not super knowledgeable about, but like every 1L would learn in their 1L torts class about the idea of what we call an eggshell plaintiff, which is, it's not a defense for a defendant, in this case the police officer, to say, well, he was especially frail, so my actions weren't actually that bad. How could I know that he has bone cancer, that he's extra frail, that his neck could break just from this? If he had a reason to know that his actions could cause damage, the fact that the damage was much more excessive than he could have foreseen, in most states, probably not going to be a defense to him. I would imagine that this is, whether the officer loses his job or not, I don't know, but I imagine this is going to be quite the payout from the city to Mr. Vu and his family.
Well, my other comment is, I think if the police officer would have held a little bit more authority in the sense of not letting him out of the car, not letting him walk all over the place, it would have kept him, the older gentleman, in a safer position by staying in the car. And then, two, not having the police officer feel threatened, which I'm assuming is what he thought and why he did that. So it's interesting, because I still feel like maybe there's a little bit of negligence on the cops' end, just based on not keeping him in a contained position until the stop was over.
Yeah, I think he really had one of two options. One is, no, do not get out of this car. I'm detaining you. That possibly gets into questions of, like, does he have any authority to detain him? Like, he's written the ticket. All he did was a traffic infraction.
But for safety reasons, like we just said, I feel like, right, like it's of the best interest.
Well,
but maybe.
I mean, there's still a question of, like, an officer only has the authority to detain someone if there is, reasonable suspicion that they committed a crime, if there's some ongoing investigation. Maybe he could say that he really needed him to stay in that car to finish the interaction, to, hand out the ticket for this traffic infraction. The other option, again, is just end it.
Right.
You handed out the ticket. This guy's wandering away. Say goodbye and drive away.
What you see in New York City, what are some of the most common mistakes that are, that you see during traffic stops?
Yeah, so the first thing I'll say is these cases of what we might call the category of like police brutality, they are the cases that get headlines, but they're not the most common mistake. What we see more is what I might call like micro-level constitutional violations, where the cops are doing a lot of things he's doing here and just going too fast and exceeding their authority in small ways that have constitutional implications, that could have implications on getting evidence thrown out at trial if a case gets that far. So, for example, we talked at the beginning of this video about the door. If the cop opened the door there, he's probably crossing some sort of a line where he doesn't actually have reasonable cause to open that door as early as he did. In general, the big one I see is, police have pretty wide latitude when they see you commit a traffic infraction. What I think they fail to understand is they can't turn that into a full-blown criminal investigation, searching a car, asking you to step out, patting you down, these sort of things that cops want to do, because, that can be the gateway to them finding drugs, finding guns, finding bigger picture things they can arrest. But there needs to be a nexus there. And there's different standards. I don't know if we need to get in, like, is there a reasonable suspicion of criminal activity afoot is one of the standards. Usually not.
Yeah.
Usually the only thing there's reasonable suspicion of is that this person committed a traffic infraction, and that doesn't give police wide leeway to just do a full-blown criminal investigation.